Hey everybody, welcome back to Ginger Flicks. I'm Joey.
And I'm Josh.
Oh, and here it is. All right, I guess this can kind of count as a Christmas movie because there were a Christmas Carol or two in it, and it kind of has some Christmas elements, not many.
Yeah.
But we'll count it.
Literally the ending shot, like right before
It's around
credits,
Christmas time.
It's like you can tell it's winter, it's Christmas, it's all that.
Yeah, so there you go. It sticks with our theme.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So deal with it.
Just deal. All right, friends. We have been anticipating this movie for quite some time, as have many people been anticipating this movie. If you haven't figured it out yet by the opening of the episode, by the thumbnail that you tagged to click on this, then I don't know what else to say. But Josh, what movie did we watch?
Folks, we watched Spider-Man No Way Home.
And what did you think?
Oh, hell yes,
right.
Son.
I want to preface this first before we start getting going. I'm going to apologize in advance if we do drop spoilers. We will try our best not to drop too many. Or at least if we do, we're going to apologize in advance.
Look, here's what you do, people. We're going to drop spoilers. If you don't want spoilers, go watch the movie and then listen to our review.
We'll wait.
We're still here. We're not going anywhere.
We'll just wait.
Damn.
You want to give him a minute?
Yeah, just take a minute. Go.
We'll give you a minute. Just go ahead.
Go watch. Watch the movie.
On pause.
Go
and come back.
Why haven't you gone yet?
Watch the movie. You're still here. That's a great idea. Just shoo our audience away 2 minutes and like 30 seconds into the episode. I love it. Okay. That's how we do things.
Now look,
now that you've come back.
Now you come back or you haven't left, you don't care about spoilers, you just want to know what we think. Let's unpack this. Let's go.
Okay, all right. So, if you don't know from the trailers, I'm sure everybody has seen these by now. Peter Parker goes to Doctor Strange to basically help his situation out. Correct?
Yeah. Yep. The premise of the movie, folks, in case you don't know, the end of Far From Home, Spider-Man, his identity is revealed to the world, and he's also revealed as Mysterio's murderer, sort of. And
that was odd.
You know what? And we'll talk about this because I will say, like, we have just come out of seeing the movie. We saw it. We're recording this at about 8:40 at night. We saw the 4:00 show today. So it's fresh. Yeah. This is a fresh. We haven't done this in a long time, actually, a very long time.
What, recorded like right after seeing a movie?
Yeah. We've gone to a movie and then recorded it like immediately after.
Yeah, we haven't done it in a little while.
Anyway, so yes, his identity is revealed and, it's causing trouble for himself, Ned,
it's causing a lot
MJ,
it's causing a lot of trouble for them in the sense that they get no opportunity to breathe, essentially, because then they're being basically run by people in the streets. So everybody's sort of cornering them and like...
Yeah. Well, look, minor spoilers. None of them are getting into college because of the controversy surrounding Peter's identity.
So
there's things like
they're not getting accepted into any schools or anything like that. I mean,
yeah. So it's little things like that, like right off the bat. And Peter goes to Doctor Strange to get his identity wiped from everyone's minds, and the spell kind of goes awry because the spell would erase everyone's memory of Peter's identity, but Peter keeps adding, MJ, Ned, Aunt
Aunt
May,
May, all
Happy,
these
etc.
people.
All the
Yeah.
Avengers. Like he just keeps going on and on.
Yeah.
And anyway, the spell goes wrong, and that's when you see in the trailers we've got a bunch of villains from across the multiverse in this movie.
Yep. So far,
And
stuff you already know.
It goes from there. So Doc
It does
Ock,
go. I mean,
that Doc Ock, Electro, Green Goblin, Sandman, and the Lizard are in the movie from the trailers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like,
but I will say this: the internet has done a this is what frustrates me, and it kind of makes me miss movie going growing up.
Yeah.
In the sense that had this come out even in the time of back in 2002, right? And all this happened then, it would have been a bigger deal because, you know, we wouldn't really have known about it. I mean, there would have been a handful of people out there that knew, but what I'm trying to say is that those folks would have really had to scour for that information.
Yeah. You had to like find the deepest internet rabbit hole, like darkest parts of the web to find, you know, these
to find this type of stuff, right? I mean,
yeah.
And
now it's very, very accessible.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, yeah, they say no spoilers or anything like that on the internet, which again, I want to try to abide by, but there's no guarantees. But the truth is you already know it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
mean, if you're listening to us, you're definitely more than likely you're somebody who's already read up on this stuff and probably is even more knowledgeable than us. At least certain people that we know listen to the show are already more knowledgeable than us in this sort of world and all this stuff, right? And at least the people we know that will appreciate what's going on. But the problem for me is that it really does, it takes away the impact of these moves, right?
Yeah.
And then it becomes more of a, and sometimes it could take you out of the movie. I mean, it did for a little bit for me, because then, you know, I started getting that feeling of when is this going to happen? When is that going to happen? Instead of just enjoying the movie itself.
Yeah.
Right. And that becomes frustration. It becomes frustrating, especially like I had it with Ghostbusters and now I had it with this, right? These are little tidbits that, thanks to the internet, realistically, and again, this is why I kind of want to try not to spoil too many spoilers, but if we do, I'm saying sorry again. But the truth is that the internet has kind of, as good as this movie is, it could have been that much better if we knew nothing going in.
Yeah, you know what's crazy is that, like, even with Far From Home, the last Spider-Man movie, those post-credit scenes with J. Jonah Jameson and then the Skrulls, I had no idea was coming. Like,
right,
when he showed up on screen, they did a really good job of hiding the fact that he was in it, because for that one specifically, I had no idea. And I was like, okay, wow, like that, you know what, that was great. And I remember we were in the theater, we saw that together too.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, like this, okay, that's great. And then the next one after that was the Skrulls or whatever. But yeah, that reveal was really well done, really well kept. And, you know, the MCU, I think the problem, it's not that it's so accessible. It's just that, like, look, the last really, like, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was such a great movie. And so we knew that the multiverse was coming, because obviously the next MCU movie is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Right.
So we're just expecting, okay, there's a multiverse happening, you know, especially with WandaVision and Loki. So we're like, okay, yeah, Toby and Andrew have to be in this. And as soon as they revealed J. Jonah Jameson, played by J.K. Simmons in the last movie, you're like, okay, well, Toby, they got to bring Toby back, right? Like they can't.
Right.
So we're actively looking for the spoilers.
Well,
even before we even knew the title of the movie, we're like, let's go.
But that's what I mean. I had heard about Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield before we even knew what the movie was going to be called.
Yeah. But I mean, again, like,
just because they're unconfirmed rumors, it still ends up becoming a thing where, you know, and it is a matter of accessibility, and it's a big matter of people just having it accessible to them. That's just my thing about it. I like, you know, at risk of sounding like an old dude, you know, I kind of miss those days when, you know, you knew absolutely nothing going into a movie.
Yeah.
Right. But, I mean, like, for example, a movie like Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, if it was released today, that twist would have been dropped who knows when. Maybe even a week before the movie, because people will scour for that.
Or they look for like script leaks or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's really like, there's no denying. I mean, that might be a bit of a drastic thing, but I mean, hell, we live in a world now where toys are spoiling movies.
Yep.
Right?
Well, it's true. They're like, oh, this, you know, this version of Spidey, why is he dressed like this? What is this? What is this costume? Is this the new black suit, or, you know, things like that?
I mean, that exactly. So little things like that, and it can kind of be frustrating just as a movie going fan. That you know, these movies, I'm going to enjoy them, and I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy this movie. I did, and you know, I had the same reactions as pretty much everybody else in the theater when these other reveals were made. But the truth is they weren't really surprises.
For me,
even the first one in the movie wasn't really a surprise anymore.
You know what?
And it was dropped by Kevin Feige himself a week ago.
You know what it was, though? But like we were talking about kind of coming out of the movie, is that, yes, you know, we knew about it, but so my concern flipped from, okay, so they're in it, but how are they in it? And will they be done justice? Like, yeah, we know they're going to be in it.
Right.
So, okay, here's your first, I guess, major spoiler-ish, is that Matt Murdock, played by Charlie Cox, is in it. And he's in it so early. It is such a quick appearance. Like, it happens within the first maybe 5-10 minutes. And, you know, that picture, because again, this was a photo that was leaked online, and people thought, oh, maybe this is a fake or whatever, but nope, it's real. And then, of course, Kevin Feige confirms that Charlie Cox will be Daredevil in the MCU. Amazing. I mean, Daredevil, I love that show. And he, you know, it was great to see him in it. And that one little like catch he did, that was cool. But I was kind of ticked. How come we didn't see Daredevil more in the movie? Because it's like, that really was kind of not a blink and you'll miss it moment, but it was very quick, and it was so early. But don't get me wrong, that just got me excited. I was like, yes, bring him in. I'm so down. That was really exciting to see him. And that's even before the multiverse. That's another thing too, because people thought, oh, maybe, you know, these other characters coming in, like people thought, so this is a non-spoiler-ish, but the X-Men are not in this movie. You know, people thought maybe the X-Men would come through with the portals or something like that, or with the multiverse. So people are also thinking that maybe with the multiverse, this would be that Daredevil from the Netflix universe of shows. But like, no, this is Charlie Cox in the MCU. So that was kind of cool. I really like that. He even had the same like red glasses. Or no, were they the
Yeah,
same
he
as the
did.
show? Well, he
I
had the
can't
red, but
remember
I
that.
don't think he
Yeah.
had red in the show. Anyway, that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so getting down to the biggest. Well, hold on. Actually, I want to talk about this too because we saw that life was being hard for especially the three kids. We didn't see it so much for May. We saw that they had to move to like Happy's apartment or
Right.
whatever. But again, I was like, how does Happy only live in this little apartment? Like, wouldn't Tony have left him like so much money? Wouldn't Tony have taken care of him? Maybe he wanted to live there. I don't know. Because he had that machine there, right? That Tom used in the last Spider-Man movie to make his costume.
No, that was said that was stolen.
Stolen from who? Like
from Stark Industries.
No, but was it stolen or was it just
no? They're saying there's missing Stark tech. That's literally what they were saying, and but that's what J. Jonah Jameson was accusing Spider-Man of doing, stealing. Yeah.
But it's like he had it in the last movie. That's what I didn't understand.
Again, that's what Spider-Man is getting blamed for.
Yeah. So this was the thing, because honestly, the third act in this movie is great. It is top tier. It's
everything you wanted.
It's borderline Endgame level. In terms of like fan service and stuff.
Yeah.
But again, now that I'm taking a second and processing, the first half did kind of feel, I was like, okay, where are they gonna go with this? Because we never saw, like, the thing that was bugging me, and you heard me in the theater, I was like, why isn't S.H.I.E.L.D. helping Peter? And they even say Nick Fury's been off world for a year. How did they know that? Then why were the Skrulls, like, I thought they were posing as Nick Fury in the last movie.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody knew that. Like, S.H.I.E.L.D. still thought they were Nick Fury, but all of a sudden now they know that he's been off world. And I was like, why aren't any of the Avengers coming to his aid? I know this isn't an Avengers movie. I know that, but they mention it in the movie. Tom says, I fought with the Avengers. Great. But no one, so no one's coming to his aid. And there's social media. Like, so he's not even, there was a couple things. I was like, why isn't he on social media pleading his case? Because this world, it is now, it's 2021. Or, well, actually, it's 2024 or 2025.
Yeah. They're like
there.
A few years into the future.
So, but it's definitely social media, where nowadays someone can just go on social media, especially, he even says he's the most famous person in the world right now. He could have easily, like, there was no one coming to his aid, which I found very strange. There was nobody. You saw there was a couple Spider-Man supporters at the school, but that was it. So I was like, what? Why aren't more people helping him out? Why isn't the government helping him out? He did save the world. He helped save the world. So why? Mysterio was nobody. Nobody knew who he was except for in Far From Home. That was it. So that to me, I was like, this is getting a little bit of a stretch already.
Yeah, I mean, there was a few things that could have been like, wait a minute, what are you guys talking about, sort of deal, right? Mm-hmm. And it just, like, I don't know, man. Like, it was funny in that sense, because the truth is that they could have just, like, Mysterio is kind of just randomly thrown in for the sake of being thrown in, and then all of a sudden it becomes a big issue for Spider-Man and all that. But, like, he really doesn't do. What the hell am I trying to say here? I'm lost. I have lost my point. Isn't that great?
It's the dream.
It is the dream. But let's go.
No, I know what you mean, though. Look, in the last movie, Mysterio hasn't been part of the MCU.
No,
he was thrown in the last movie.
He was kind of shoehorned in. But I'm finding, though, like Some could argue that Far From Home could have been the first of Phase 4's movies. Like it can be argued, right?
It can, but I'm
because it is
the last of the Phase 3 movies.
It is, right? So it's that whole transition point, right? And the truth is now they're setting up for a new Avengers and all this, obviously, because of the fact that Cap's gone and Anthony Mackie as Falcon is the new Cap, and I think the Hawkeye series is setting up that Clint's gonna phase himself out. Don't know what's going on with Bucky yet. Whether Bucky's gonna keep kicking butt. The whole thing with Wanda and Doctor Strange and all that stuff. So everything is sort of changing and it's in transition right now, right? And all of a sudden, like at least with Far From Home, you have Mysterio really just sort of shoehorned in essentially just for the last 3 minutes of the movie to set up for this movie.
Pretty much.
Really is all he's there for.
Well, I mean, that was the problem. Like, the last movie was good. I enjoyed it.
I thought it was great too.
But yeah, that was the problem, was that the most memorable part of that movie was the ending. Like that was it. Like that, when people think about Far From Home, they don't think about, they don't even think about his cool illusions or anything like that. They think about the fact that at the end of the movie, Peter's identity is revealed and Mysterio and is blamed for Mysterio's death. And nobody even knew who that was.
A lot of people didn't know.
Like,
that's what's frustrating. There's a lot of people that watched those movies had no idea who Mysterio was as a character in general. Or even in the world of the MCU. Like, people in that world had no idea who Mysterio was. And that's the other thing too. And it becomes like this whole other plot hole thing, like with the Eternals, all of a sudden, where they don't help the Avengers at all for whatever reason, just conveniently. Right? I mean, this is kind of a big deal, right? And all of a sudden, right? So, I mean, you would think, especially with what we saw with the Eternals and their whole reasoning to be on the planet alone, you would think that they would be sort of forced to intervene with Thanos, because it would set back the emergence of what's it called? I forget now.
The Celestial.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You would think that would be a whole deal. So why don't they get involved? And that becomes the issue. And you find that with quite a few of the MCU movies lately, or just maybe in general, that they have these glaring plot holes, but yet we as fans do ignore them because we like the movies and they are very entertaining. And that's same exact thing can be said about No Way Home. It is a very entertaining and fun movie.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, really, I think they could have just taken a little bit more care in that first half, because Peter, like, they all get taken in for questioning and stuff. But again, I just would have liked to see some more people intervening on Peter's part. But hey, then we get into like the meat and potatoes of this movie. They cast the spell. These villains show up. And I gotta say, it was so good to see them all back. Like, for me, the ones I really cared about were obviously like Doc Ock and Green Goblin.
Well, okay, those are the ones that we sort of grew up with in the sense, right? Because Tobey Maguire was our Spider-Man, so to speak, because we were what, 13, 14 when the first one came out?
The first one, I was 18 when it came out.
Really? I thought they weren't that.
Yeah, because it was 2002, so I was like 17 or 18 whenever it actually landed. It was May, so I might have been almost 18 or whatever. But it was like, it was like 2002, so I was like 17, 18, and like 20. And But like, let's be real. Like, look, the only place you'll find people that say Andrew Garfield's movies are better is like on TikTok or something. Sorry, but look, I just rewatched the first three Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire ones. Honestly, they are still so good. The first and second one, like obviously we know the problems of the third one, too many people in that movie and all that kind of stuff. But even then, it still has some really great moments.
Well, like, I mean, that could have been a problem with this one too, with quote unquote too many people. And
yes, and that was what I was worried about, is that we have all these villains. And I will say that we didn't look. I like the way Doc Ock was handled. I like the way Green Goblin was handled, and Electro was certainly better than in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. But again, there were 5 villains, and even Doctor Strange being like a foil, because there comes to a point where him and Peter come to a head, and Doctor Strange just wants to send all the villains back home where they'll die, which they all won't die. It'll just be Doc Ock and Green Goblin. The other 3, I don't think even Electro died. I think he just became electricity. So
no, they basically said that he dies.
Yeah,
that's how they basically like turned it out. They basically were
right.
So the whole thing is all the villains get pulled in.
The only ones that wouldn't die were the Lizard and Sandman.
Right. Yeah.
Because they don't die in their movies.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, so it was. So those 3 villains. So besides those 3 villains, have more. The ones that die, Goblin, Doc Ock, Electro, they're fleshed out a little more. But even then, you still have so many villains, you can't flesh them out enough. So they really you can't. We've already they really relied with this movie that we've already seen these villains, so they didn't really have to do much more with their characters. Just give them the motivation that they don't want to die.
I was fine with that though.
And no, so was I. Like, that was the thing.
I was totally fine with that. That was perfectly fine with me. I mean, I didn't mind that at all. I like the fact that, they didn't assume we were dumb. They sort of said, these are the guys, you know them already. Let's go from there. They were very much banking on, nostalgia, let's say.
Now, some other movies, though, they can do that and it doesn't work. Like this exact same thought process. Like, look at X-Men 3, like the original X3, The Last Stand. The first 2 Bryan Singer movies, very good. And then Brett Ratner is like, we don't have to do any character work in this one because you know them. And then he actually ruins a bunch of characters by doing that. So they could have done that with this one. But they were close.
But they kept it simple with these guys.
Yeah, because they just gave them a simple motivation. It was just like, we want to live. I like that Doc Ock, because the one thing I was worried about with Doc Ock is that he, at the end of Spider-Man 2, he decides he's not going to be a monster. Like, he has that moment when Peter Parker reveals who he is, and he says, you told me that intelligence is used for the good of mankind. And then, Doc Ock is like, no, I will not die a monster. And, and he ends up destroying his machine. So I was a little bit worried with that when he shows up, that he's a bad guy again. But they kind of show that their memories are kind of muddled from when they were plucked.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. So they're not sure, and then they sort of have
just don't remember their last.
Yeah, exactly. They sort of have like a realization where they start to go through and say, "Oh my God, yes."
Yeah, but anyway, I loved like Doc Ock. Alfred Molina was great.
Alfred Molina nails it out of the park pretty much every time you see him. He is truly amazing as a performer and anything else, really.
But I mean, I'm pretty sure he did an interview where he said they offered him money and he took it, and like that's why he was here. And he did not phone it in. Like he was so good. You know, Willem Dafoe was just as hammy in this one as he was in the last one.
But it worked.
It was so good. Like I loved it.
There's a lot of good little Easter eggs in this one too.
I mean,
right? If you notice with Goblin's new look in this, they have him in the purple hoodie.
It was purple?
It was purple. You didn't notice that?
It didn't look purple.
It was purple.
It looked green to me though. When? Like in the last fight? When he flies in and like
there was a purple hoodie on him. Yes. It was
you know what? I gotta say, like the one thing I didn't like is that we were in 3D and those glasses make it darker. And the final fight was all at night. And it was a little bit dark. I was kind of like, come on. Like
make it dark so you can hide the mistakes, my friend.
Oh, I know. But and so I mean, that was the one thing. So with Green Goblin, we saw that okay, he has, I love that he has that little talking moment with himself in the alleyway. He doesn't get a lot of scenes like just him. So it's like there's the alleyway, and then he's with May, and then he's with Peter and all the other villains.
Yeah, and it just goes from there.
But like it happens really fast that because he says, no, I won't be the Goblin or whatever. And then all of a sudden he's like, he flips. He is the Goblin. He's like, no, I've been hiding the whole time. And he's got that Goblin voice.
Yeah.
And it's like, I wish we saw a little more duality with that character.
But once you start getting into that, then you start running the risk of overdoing it with him anyways.
Mm-hmm. But that's the problem, is that you can't. We just did.
Once you start doing that, I mean, then if you're gonna do that, you might as well have Zack Snyder direct this thing and have it a 4-hour epic.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's the only way you're gonna get it done. I mean, that's the only way you're gonna get the opportunity to give all these villains, all these characters that much time. It's just not doable in a 2-hour movie. Or it was about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it is the longest Spider-Man movie, I believe. Anyway, still, I loved the performances from the villains and stuff. It kind of bugged me that Flint Marko was never in his human form until he got the cure, quote unquote. Because even in Spider-Man 3, he still looked human. You know, and I don't think that was done just because there wasn't enough budget for graphics or whatever at the time, CGI. But
that might have been it.
But like that's what the character does, right?
But I mean,
the character does look human though, even in the comics.
Maybe, but I mean, I think the whole idea of it being done then. And when did that movie come out? 2007.
Yeah.
So it might have just been a matter of costs.
Maybe, but
in 2007.
But it's even better though when he's human. Like it looked really weird that the whole time he was sand. Like the whole time. I was kind of like, this is strange.
Yeah, I thought he was going to turn sooner or
same thing with the lizard. Like the lizard only stays the lizard for a certain amount of time, but then usually he reverts to human again. Right? Like I don't know. That's what I remember. I don't know. I thought that was strange. You know, that he was always in the lizard form. Again, I'm thinking because they don't have to pay the actors as much to be on set as much.
It might have been just scheduling conflicts.
Might have been that.
Right. I mean, let's face it. You know, Thomas Hayden Church is a busy guy. Who plays the lizard? His name escapes me right now.
Reese Ifans or something? Ifans?
Reese Ifans?
Is that his? I'm not sure how you say his name.
Okay.
I've only seen it like printed, so I'm not really sure. But yeah, like anyway, like those guys were fine. Again, you and I are more attached to the Toby villains, the Toby characters.
Well, those are the ones that they had to pay top dollar to get them on, because truthfully, they're the bigger names when you really think about it.
I don't know, but not Jamie Foxx though.
Why not? He's an Oscar winner, for God's sake.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like Jamie Foxx is you probably have to pay him the most.
No, but what I'm trying to say is, in terms of performers, right? The three ones that get the most fleshed out character work out of all of the villains are, like, realistically the three most well-known actors, at least acclaim.
Yeah.
And it's not a far off, but I'd say, for me anyways, I've always liked everything Alfred Molina has done, because the guy is just a chameleon. He can play anything.
He is an underrated actor.
Very much so. An amazing character actor. Same can be said of Willem Dafoe, and in some respect, Jamie Foxx.
But Jamie Foxx is like, he's a leading man. He's not really a character actor. He's a lead. More
than anything, yes. But that's what I'm trying to say, though. I mean, out of those
you're right.
Three guys, those guys are the top.
Yeah.
And again, the other two, like Thomas Hayden Church, is no slouch in his own right? I mean, and Rhys Ifans as well is another great actor. He may not be as well known to us just because he's only done a handful. Granted, everything I've ever seen him in is great too. I loved him in The Replacements, for example.
He was in that? He was the kicker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yep.
Yeah,
wow.
He was the
throwback.
Kicker. It was a throwback, but yeah. I mean, as far as it goes, the villains, at least with Spider-Man, I've always found that the villains have always been well cast.
Yeah. Man,
aside from Topher Grace, he was not the right casting choice.
The problem with Topher Grace, like I
mean, this episode has become more a podcast, an episode in regards to all of the Spider-Man world and universes, as opposed to just being about No Way Home, which is okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm kind of glad they didn't bring Topher Grace back, but you know what? People give him so much hate. It wasn't his casting. They gave him the role. I thought he was fine in the movie, but he wasn't like what Eddie Brock is. He was more.
Well, no, it was his casting.
No, but
it wasn't his performance.
No, but I mean, that's what I mean.
It wasn't his performance. It was his casting. They should have never cast him in the role.
That's what I meant, is like someone else cast him. It wasn't his fault that he was cast in that.
Exactly.
Is what I meant.
No, yeah, exactly. It wasn't his choice.
But he
was probably happy to get the gig. I mean, why wouldn't you be? I would have been too. But the reality of it is just he wasn't cast properly.
No, he was not. Look, let's get into the heat. Like, so we all know, if you've been on the internet at all, this is a multiverse movie.
Very much.
Sure enough, look, as soon as the trailers dropped and you saw Doc Ock and Green Goblin, you knew that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield had to be in this movie.
I mean, this had 3 Tobey villains.
Yes, it had 3 Tobey villains. And like, so my biggest thing, like, you're a little upset that we have too much knowledge, too many leaks, which I agree. I'm on board with you on that one.
I really do. I feel like I knew everything going in, and it's not like I was actively looking for leaks.
Yeah. My concern is, look, I assumed that was happening when you have Andrew and Toby in it. My concern was how it was handled. I was like,
okay, let's get into that.
Because the one thing I was really nervous about, especially with Tobey Maguire, again, because you and I, we grew up, like, those were our Spider-Man movies. Just don't bring him in to have him be disrespected. Like, I thought, look, it's become fashionable with when they're rebooting a series or doing a sequel 20 years later, that the new young guns make the original characters look like crap. You know, you saw it with Star Wars.
Star Wars, that was at the request of Harrison Ford.
No, I'm not. Well, I'm not talking about him though,
But
because Harrison Ford.
There's that. I'm talking about. Let's talk about that for a second, right? Because he only agreed to do Force Awakens if Han Solo gets killed.
Yeah, no, but I didn't care about him dying, because when Han Solo came back, like, don't get me wrong, I liked the Force Awakens. I saw it a few times in theaters and stuff, but even then, I still never really understood why him and Leia were broken up in the first place. Why he wasn't
right.
Why he didn't have the Millennium Falcon in the first place, but he was still Han Solo. The way he behaved, but
okay,
I'm talking
so
about
what are you getting at?
I'm talking about Luke Skywalker.
Okay, all right.
The way they treated Luke in the sequel trilogy was terrible. He doesn't behave like himself. He doesn't use the Force. He's cut himself off. He gets in a fight and like loses. He barely fights at all. Right. He's given like terrible advice to Rey. And I was like, this is not the Luke Skywalker.
Okay.
Like, I would like to see the journey.
So what was your fear that they would have done? Let's stick with Tobey Maguire then.
So my fear would be something like they bring him in just to have him lose a fight to like Goblin and have Tom beat him. You know what I mean? Like something like that. And there is a way they did it, but I thought it was handled so respectfully. I thought all three Spider-Men were equals in this movie. You know, in terms of, the way everything was done, I thought was wonderful. I thought the dialogue between the three of them, was just, I don't know, it was so good. I love their chemistry.
The argument can be made that between the three of them, they all have decent comedic timing, so that's why it works.
Yeah, but it's funny because even when I was watching it, I was like, they are still three different Peter Parkers. Like they all like some of the same stuff, but even the way they kind of reacted was different.
It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's interpretations, right? Like, so it just goes to show that and they were obviously told as actors, do your version of Peter Parker, do your version of Spider-Man, just be what you've brought to this role. Mm-hmm. Because obviously an actor is not just going to mimic the previous guy. Yeah. Right. I mean,
and the same
can be said for like, anybody playing James Bond, for example. They bring something of theirs to it, right? I mean, and you had the moments where like Andrew Garfield was the most, I want to say, snarky out of all of the Spider-Men. Yeah. Right. And I'm even going back to his movies, like the Amazing Spider-Man movies. He always had like quips, which is almost more reminiscent of the comics compared to Tobey Maguire's, who really wasn't like that as a Spider-Man. And in many respects, Tom Holland isn't. Tom Holland plays Spider-Man more with like a childlike wonder, so to speak, right? It was like, true. Wow, what? Right? That's sort of how we've known Tom Holland's Spider-Man to be. Oh, that's so cool, right? Like just
But it's like my thing always with, I think Andrew Garfield is a tremendous actor, but I never liked his Peter Parker because he was always just way too cool. He always had so much confidence, even when, I guess maybe they're trying to make him more realistic in a way, but at the same time, like Peter Parker is a timid kid, and then his confidence came out in Spider-Man. Like even when he got bit by the spider, again, I haven't read that many Spider-Man comics, but it still took a while for his Peter Parker to gain confidence, where he always had the confidence, the the comebacks, the quips as Spider-Man. But even when he had his powers, he was still a little more reserved as Peter, because he still was nervous about what people thought of him, and he still, he just lacked a lot of confidence. And I thought Tobey always did that so well. Say what you will, the original Spider-Man movies are a little cheesy, but he always had this. His silent reactions were always amazing. I will say amazing, and I'm saying that especially after watching the last one, just rewatching those, like when the end of Spider-Man 2, when MJ shows up in his apartment and is like, and she does this whole speech, but then she finally says, "Isn't it about time someone saves you?" And he just has this, like, you can see so much going through his mind without him saying a word. Then until she finally says, like, say something, and he just says, "Thank you." And it's like, amazing. Like, I'm not saying that's exactly like what Peter is in the comics, because I just haven't read enough.
But again, it's all a matter of just each actor's interpretation. And you finally got to, and it works so much better. Like, even Andrew Garfield's, right, works so much better around the other two, and it gives you sort of an idea of how they are, and it just allows them to feed off each other. And then they do make sort of a little bit of they do poke jabs at themselves, like Andrew Garfield pokes jabs at himself as Spider-Man.
Well, I like,
right, like he pokes jabs at his own Spider-Man here. He's like, "Oh man, I want to fight an alien. I'm not as cool as you guys," and stuff like that, right?
Told me, like, "No, you're amazing." I was like, "Okay, all right." Like,
don't forget, you're amazing.
Yeah. I was like, "Okay, you're getting a little meta here," but yes.
But that's a little. Come on.
But I love that
they got to the point where they even referenced Tobey Maguire's back issues.
Oh, I loved it. I know, like,
right? I mean,
and that was him, talking about him in Spider-Man 2 injuring his back, and then actually in real life injuring his back. All of it. He's always had back issues. Loved it. I loved when they find out that he has organic webbing. So good.
They're both good. Like, this is weird.
They're like, does it just come out of your wrists? Does it come out anywhere else? I was like, yes. So good. Do you ever have any blockage or something? Oh man, no, that was great. That was great. And then there was that one moment too where Andrew Garfield's like, "I love you guys." And they're both like, "Okay."
Like, thank you.
Like, thank you. It was like, that was I thought that was really, really funny. Their dialogue between the three of them was great. And again, what was kind of cool as well, when they figure out that they can't do things on their own.
Yeah.
And Tom is like, "Well, I've worked with people," because the other two haven't, except, although I will say that Tobey and Harry for a brief moment fought together at the end of Spider-Man 3. And that fight was actually, when I rewatched it, it was brief, but when I rewatched it, I was like, damn, like, that was actually solid, especially for back then. Like, that was a solid team up. But
again, it's all animation fights anyways.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, I like that. Same thing, another reveal. Yeah, I fought alongside the Avengers. The Avengers?
That's so cool. Who are they?
Like, so good. I thought that was brilliant.
Wait, you guys don't have the Avengers? And then I think it was either Tobey.
Is that a band?
Were you in a band? That's wicked.
Like, it was, like, I thought that was really, really well done. But so then, and then even, Doc Ock helps in the fight, because they did cure him and all that. So this is what kind of got me, and I'm still on the fence if I really, like, I didn't mind it, but I'm on the fence if I really liked it or not. But okay, another big spoiler. Again, you've already heard a lot, but the Green Goblin kills Aunt May in this one.
Yeah,
with his glider. Again, he's using that glider, man. This glider is killing everybody. Uses it to kill Aunt May. So Tom Holland wants to kill him. And the first time he fights the Green Goblin, Goblin destroys Tom Holland. I was like, whoa, okay. Like, destroys. I really wish we got another Toby Goblin fight. But we get the fight at the end where Tom and Green Goblin are fighting. The other two are just watching. They just see him. They're like, all right.
Like, maybe we should stop this.
Yeah, and you see, like, Tom gets the upper hand, and he's just, like, wailing on him.
And I think they looked at each other and was like, nope, let's see where this goes.
And then so you see that he's going to kill him with the board, with the glider.
Yeah.
Toby stops him. And I love that look, too. The look that they have with each other. Again, that's what I'm saying. Like, Tobey Maguire, without speaking, is a good actor.
Like,
he's
that's
a good
also
actor.
like, I think that's also like a product of, you know, when he came up and who he came up with. I mean, you know, he came up with Leo DiCaprio, and I think even Joaquin Phoenix and all those guys, and they just have that that uncanny ability to just convey so much in their eyes alone before saying anything.
Yeah, and
right.
So when
I mean, they're like, Tom, like we're talking about a group of guys, like a group of actors that can do that, and I'm sure a lot of actors can, right? But again, it's and out of all the Spider-Man actors, Toby is one who does it the best.
Yeah. Like what was crazy is I guess what was crazy is that Tom Holland was gonna kill Green Goblin if Toby didn't stop him.
Yeah, it was gonna happen.
Like he goes to stab Goblin, Toby stops him, and even like, you know, he doesn't, like, Tom almost looks like he's gonna overpower him, but he doesn't. But just with his eyes, it looks like no, don't do this. And then you see like Tom.
Yeah,
like,
he was bringing him like back into like calming him back, like bringing him back down to earth, so to speak.
Yeah, and then sure enough, though, we all knew this was gonna happen. Goblin stabs Toby. You know,
right? Yeah,
and it's like you knew that was coming, so I was kind of like, I kind of wish that didn't happen. But again, I didn't mind. Like, I didn't like. That's why I'm on the fence. I'm like, do I love it? Do I like this? Do I love it? Do I not like it? I'm not sure yet.
I think it would have been worse if he had died.
Well, well, here's the thing.
I think it would have. It would have been.
I thought he was dying because he got stabbed in the back and he's like lying on the floor. You assume I wouldn't have minded necessarily if he died, just being like, you know, and give one last final word to Tom. But no, obviously he's still alive because he was standing at the end. Like, he was in a lot of pain, and they kept making jokes about it. I mean, but it was still well done. And then even that like toss and you know, with the vial, and anyway, all just getting back to it. I want to see another like multiversal. I would love to see the three of them team up again.
It's gonna have to happen soon. I mean, Toby's not a kid anymore.
No, right? I know, but
I mean, hell, I think Andrew Garfield's closer to our age now too, isn't he?
He's older.
Is he?
He's like he I think he's older. He's like our age. He's like 38.
Yeah.
Because I think they even call him a kid, and he's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Or something. But yeah, I would love to see that again. I gotta say, the way the three of them in this movie were handled, especially the two being brought back, very impressed. It exceeded my expectations, I gotta admit.
Yeah, no, it was very well done. I mean, I couldn't think of any other like anything I really wasn't a fan of this. But before we get into that, I think we've come to the point in the show now where we do rate these movies out of 5 ginger snaps, or since it's the holidays, gingerbread men, ginger people, whatever you want to call them. That's what we're rating them as.
Yep.
So Josh, how many gingerbread men / ginger snaps do you give Spider-Man No Way Home?
I am teetering on this one.
Oh,
I want to say like
Teedly
four and a half,
Toodlies.
4.5 to 5.
Wow,
You know,
you're
I
hitting close to fives.
yeah, honestly, this I think because the movie itself exceeded my expectations. Um, yeah, there was a couple of things though that I still had trouble with, or you know, we didn't even talk about the fact that like Spider-Man and Doctor Strange fought, and like even Spider-Man won that fight ish.
That
I was
was
like, come
kind of a
on,
cool little fight, though.
it was a great fight. The whole
Yeah.
mirror dimension.
Oh yeah.
I liked the. I mean Benedict Cumberbatch is like he's an amazing actor, and
That's
he's
the
so good.
thing, and it's funny. Like these people's were so surprised after a while to see like the superhero genre take off as well as it has. But even since the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, they have been pulling in some massive talent
Yeah.
to fill these roles. And when you start thinking about it, right, in terms of these characters and these worlds that have been built with them, they are truly and honestly characters that are very much fleshed out, and they are not one dimensional.
Not at
And
all.
before I continue, I'm going to give you my rating on this.
Yes.
And I rate it 4.5. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a perfect movie, but it's pretty close.
No, I don't know if it's a perfect movie either. It's just the way the movie left me feeling.
Extremely entertaining.
Yeah. The way it left me feeling, I was like, this.
I cried at moments. There are moments that got me emotionally. Like
yeah.
it that is one thing the MCU has been able to do lately, and they can get you emotionally, right? And this one got me.
Yeah,
You know, like the last scene with Aunt May, or the scene where Andrew Garfield talks about Gwen.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he does get his redemption for that.
Yes. Yeah, we all knew.
You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming, but it still gets you.
Yeah.
It really does, because it's a big deal, especially for him as a character and all that, and there's a lot going on, and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man finally gets a bit of a redemption and a second look, because I liked him as Spider-Man. He wasn't my favorite. Like Tobey Maguire, I think to me is still the bee's knees, just because that's the guy I kind of grew up with in terms of like Spider-Man movies. He was the first one.
Yeah.
Right. But at the end of the day, I thought Andrew Garfield's turn as Spider-Man was really well done.
Like in this one, or
both?
Yeah.
I mean,
I love how they brought them in too. I was not expecting that. Like Ned using the sling ring, and then he's able to see the multiverse because he's like, show me Peter, and he opened the portal, and the first one is Andrew Garfield, and he swings right in, and I was like, sick. All right, this is great. And then the same thing, like I like how I again, like I love this moment too. The first time we see Toby, it looks like he's just in his regular clothes. Not looks, he is in his regular clothes, his costume's underneath, as he shows later. But he even says, like, I'm trying to find the Peter of this world. I think he needs me. And I was like, yes, I love that. Like, you have that, that's the spider sense kind of thing. And they didn't talk about it too much, but I love that. I love that. Man, like, yeah, all solid.
It is one heck of a movie.
Yeah, this
really great.
This will this will probably be the first movie that I'm going to be seeing again in a while.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. I might venture out there. We'll see. Who knows? God. Who knows? If you wait long enough, it might end up on Disney Plus.
No, none of the Spider-Man movies are on Disney Plus.
Well, darn.
Well, damn it.
Who has the rights to Netflix?
Yeah, right now.
Netflix might get it.
Right now they're on Netflix.
Yeah. If Netflix was smart, they'd be like, hey, buddy, let us put that up there. Hey,
yeah, okay.
buddy.
I'm pretty sure it's going to make like $1 billion. This will probably be the first $1 billion movie.
Oh, they'll wait a few months. They're going to do it tomorrow.
No, I know, but I mean, well, right now, like, Eternals is dropping on Disney Plus already, or if it already has, or whatever, it should be coming out soon. Shang-Chi dropped pretty quick. Disney is starting to put their movies on Disney Plus like fairly quick. I don't know if they're going to do the same with this one, at least Netflix or whatever, but who knows?
You might have to wait the obligatory year.
10,000 years.
10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck.
That's a crick in the
neck. All right, Spidey friends. We've come to the point where we got to say goodbye. And Josh, before we do that, where can I find our social media stuffs?
Folks, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, GingerFlixPod, one word. YouTube, GingerFlix. We are posting new things all the time, reactions, reviews, things like that.
Well, and I'll react.
Oh, you will. Yeah, so make sure to be like and make sure to like and follow. Let us know what other movies you want us to watch, because I mean, we like to watch some movies that are kind of terrible, but man, this was a fun one to talk about because this movie was just so damn good.
Oh yeah, this was a real fun one. We had waited this one. I mean, I'd say this might be the first movie in a while that we anticipated and really enjoyed. Yeah.
I gotta say, like I said, it definitely exceeded. I think it exceeded my expectations.
Like at least for me, it was actually executed fairly well.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you again for listening. For GingerFlix, I'm Joey.
And I'm Josh.
And we will see you again soon. My balls.
Oh, mercy.